Today, I want to talk about a game that's been growing in popularity that you may have heard of. The game is called Deadlock, and after spending over 350 hours playing it, I honestly think we're watching the birth of Valve's next hit. Not because it's trying to copy League or Dota, but because it feels like it's pushing the genre in a completely new direction. And that's why I want to discuss why Deadlock is the most exciting multiplayer game out right now. Or not out right now. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I've got a lot more Deadlock content on the way, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Now, let's talk about why this game is so different. At its core, Deadlock is a third-person hero shooter and MOBA developed by Valve. Every match drops 2 teams of 6 players into a massive urban fantasy version of New York City, where the ultimate objective is to destroy the enemy patron, a powerful supernatural entity or god sitting at the heart of the opposing base. Getting there though is where the fun begins, because you'll be battling enemies, clearing waves of minions, securing objectives, collecting souls, which act as both of your experience and your currency. And as the match goes on, you'll spend those souls on items to unlock stronger abilities, which gradually turn your hero into late game powerhouse. One of my favorite things about Deadlock is that every match feels different, with a wide variety of heroes, each of their abilities, strengths, weaknesses, and even their own lore. You can play hundreds of games and still find yourself in situations you've never seen before. Sure, there are always going to be a few heroes sitting at the top of the meta, but Deadlock isn't a game where you simply pick the strongest character and win. Your macro, micro understanding, decision making, game knowledge, teamwork, those are all the things that will separate the good players from the great ones. And Deadlock rewards players who are willing to learn, experiment, and improve. And I honestly think that's one of the biggest reasons it's so addictive. Which will bring us to a question that if you don't know, let's answer it, which is, what exactly is a MOBA? If you've heard people compare Deadlock to games like League of Legends or Dota 2, it's because all three belong to the same genre. MOBA stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, and traditionally, MOBAs are strategy games played from a top-down perspective where players choose unique heroes, earn gold and experience throughout a match, buy items, and then they work together to destroy the enemy base, just like Deadlock. But games like League of Legends and Dota 2 have dominated the genre for well over a decade because no 2 matches are ever the same, every decision matters, all the heroes are different, and there's always that strategy and gameplay that is waiting to be mastered. And Deadlock will take that same foundation and then they ask the simple question of, what if we replace the clicking mechanic with just aiming and free reign of shooting? Instead of controlling your hero from above, you're right there in the action. You're shooting, sliding, climbing, dashing, jumping, and using vertical movement to outplay your opponents. It keeps everything that makes MOBAs so rewarding while adding the speed and skill of a modern shooter. And that's what makes Deadlock feel so different. Deadlock isn't exciting because it's another MOBA. It's exciting because it feels like the next evolution of the genre. And instead of clicking enemies from a top-down perspective, you're aiming your shots. Instead of slowly clicking between objectives, you're sliding, climbing, dashing, zip-lining, and using vertical movement to outplay your opponent. Every fight feels mechanical, every duel feels personal, and every kill feels earned. Valve has essentially taken decades of lessons from games like Dota 2, Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike, and even other modern hero shooters, then combined them into something that feels completely new at the same time. The result is a game that has the strategic depth that MOBA players love, and then the action-focused gameplay that shooters players enjoy. And surprisingly, those two fit together far better than most people expected. Now, a big reason people are paying so much attention to Deadlock has nothing to do with the game itself, but it's because of who's making it. Valve has a history of creating games that don't just become successful, they shape entire genres. Half-Life changed first-person shooters. Counter-Strike became one of the biggest competitive games ever made. Team Fortress 2 is still going strong nearly 20 years later, and Dota 2 helped define what a modern MOBA could be. When Valve releases a new multiplayer game, people pay attention because they've earned that reputation. And what's even crazier is that Deadlock wasn't something Valve announced years in advance with a massive marketing campaign. The game first started appearing publicly through leaks in May of 2024 before eventually showing up on Steam a few months later. But according to reports and references found in Dota 2's code, development had actually been happening behind the scenes under the code name Citadel around 2018. That means Valve has spent years quietly building this game before most of us even knew it existed. And honestly, it shows. Another one of my favorite things about Deadlock right now is just how active the development team is. The game is constantly changing, from heroes getting reworked, items getting adjusted, and mechanics evolve, and entire systems are redesigned. I know that can be frustrating if you're trying to keep up with the meta, but personally, I think it's one of Deadlock's biggest strengths. We have to remember that the game isn't finished yet, and Valve isn't just trying to ship something that's just good enough. They're trying to build a competitive multiplayer game people will still be playing 10 or even 20 years from now, just like Counter-Strike 2 and Dota 2. If you played Deadlock back in 2024 and haven't touched it since then, I honestly think you'd be shocked by just the amount of changes that they have made. Another thing I really appreciate is how connected the developers are with the community. Yoshi, one of the developers most players recognize, is constantly communicating through the official Discord, posting patch notes and explaining changes and giving players a glimpse into the team's thought process. And that kind of transparency is always a breath of fresh air. Despite still being in development, people are already incredibly excited about where Deadlock is headed. The game has become one of the most wishlisted, actually it is the most wishlisted multiplayer game on Steam, with millions of players waiting for the chance to jump in. And the game isn't even officially released yet, which is pretty incredible. So where does Deadlock stand today? Honestly, I think it's in one of the most exciting stages of its development. Valve has been updating the game at an incredible pace, and the community is already looking ahead to what could be the next major milestone. There's a lot of speculation surrounding the next big update, from what new heroes will be joining the roster to a dedicated draft mode for more competitive matches, improvements to the map and jungle visuals, and maybe even the announcement of an open beta. None of this is confirmed yet, but it gives you an idea of just how much momentum the game has right now. Every major patch makes the game feel even more polished, the world more alive, and the gameplay more refined. It's rare to get a front row seat to watch a game of this scale evolve over time, and I think that's the part that makes following Deadlock so much fun. Deadlock might not replace League, it might not replace Dota, it might not replace your favorite shooter, but it doesn't really need to. What makes Deadlock exciting is that it feels like one of the first genuinely fresh ideas we've seen in competitive multiplayer in a very long time. It's familiar enough to understand, but it's different enough to feel new. And if Valve can stick the landing, I really think we're watching the early days of something special. So if you've been hearing people talk about Deadlock and wondering what all the hype is about, now you know. And honestly, I think we're just getting started. So if you're thinking about jumping back into Deadlock, or you've just started playing, the next video I'd recommend you watch is my 15 Deadlock tips I wish I knew when I started. It's everything I wish someone had told me before my first 100 hours, and I think you'll get some value from it. So I will see you over there.